Hi, this is Phil Oakey of the Human League, creating Hysteria on EON FM. Hello?
Hello, Phil.
Hello?
Yes, it's John Peters calling from EON FM in Melbourne.
Hello, John. I've talked to you before, haven't I? A couple of times.
Yes, on the phone, and you're actually in the studio when you came out here.
Yeah.
So how's everything?
Pretty good, actually.
You've really kept us guessing about this album. I mean, how long was it in the making?
Well, I think it's been about 2.5 years since there, but, I mean, there was only maybe 6 or 7 months recording in that time.
Congratulations, because I think it's a fantastic album.
I do, actually.
Originally, it was going to be called Right, is that right?
That's right, it was. It didn't quite fit. That sounded a bit calm.
Mm.
And so we called it Hysteria instead.
Right, well, that's certainly not a calm-sounding title, but some of the tracks are pretty calm.
Yes, they are. I think there's a lot of contrast.
There is.
Worked on the contrast, really. We've tried to make every track different to the one in front of it, but still try and fit them together somehow. I think it's worked very well, especially on the first side, which is, I think it's taken a bit of time for people to put it together, and most people are picking out tracks from the second side they like at the moment, but the first side is more of one thing. From one track it leads bang into the next, right through. Hi, this is Phil Oakey of the Human League, creating Hysteria on EON FM.
At this stage, my favourite track on the album would have to be Louise.
Oh, well, I'm glad about that. I think it's our favourite track, really.
You seem to have a knack of being able to paint some quite brilliant word pictures, which you've done on this one.
Well, that one, I think the words actually mean a lot. I think, well, a lot of people over here especially haven't said that. They just think it's sort of a soppy, any old song, but the words do mean a lot on that one. On a few of the tracks, actually, this time round.
How did you feel doing the monologue in Louise?
Stupid. I got caught into it, and mainly because of our Australian record company, actually. CBS in Australia do Barry White, and while I was there, they got me some Barry White tapes. I've always really liked Barry White, but they got me like all his works.
Right.
And I ended up really getting into Barry White and sort of thinking, Barry White had put a talk over here, maybe we ought to. I don't know if that part works or not, I can't tell.
I think it definitely does.
That's where it came from.
You can almost imagine this sort of being turned into a BBC telemovie situation or something like that.
That's the way I always saw it while I was putting it together. I always sort of, I could see it all happening in front of me.
EON FM Stereo, it's 23 past 10. We'll be back with more from Phil Oakey and the new album Hysteria in just a moment.
Hi, this is Phil Oakey of the Human League, creating Hysteria on EON FM.
Now, with the Lebanon, like, you tricked us a bit there, because with all those guitars, and then I thought, well, this album is obviously going to be really guitar-oriented, but that's really the only track, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Well, we didn't want to come back with sort of the safe thing, and everyone really liked the Lebanon. But, we had quite a few discussions before we could decide to make it a single because it's not the most pleasant subject in the world. It was never designed as a single. It was one of the 2 tracks on the album that we never thought of as a single. We just put that one together, recorded the whole lot, and then at the end people started saying it was really good. But we thought, we don't want to come back, especially in Britain. The climate's very poppy. No one's got anything to say in the charts apart from, ooh, baby, you don't love me anymore.
Right.
And we wanted to come back with something just a bit more positive. I mean, it didn't sell very well in Britain. We think, we were sort of expecting that, but we still think it was the right move to bring it out at that stage.
Right. Now, I remember reading an interview with you beginning of last year, when everyone was saying, when's the new Human League album coming, everything, and you were saying that you're having trouble writing songs because it was hard to write about things like love and marriage when there was so much chaos going on in the world, and to me this seems to be the song that you wrote at that minute. Yeah,
well, there's like 3 of the songs are pretty much that way. That one's obviously, about things going on, but Betrayed and The Sign are both sort of about the world, what's going wrong with it, but they sort of sound a bit more pleasant in themselves, maybe.
Right.
It's a bit more hidden away.
Now, I remember once John Lennon said, like, when he was releasing things like Instant Karma and Power to the People, and then his Sometime in New York City album, like, he was trying to make music like a newspaper where something could happen one day, you go into the studio the next day and have it out the next week. You know, have you ever felt like that yourself? You'd like to be able to do songs like that?
We would love to do songs like that. I mean, it drove us all mad how long it took to record the LP, you know, in delays and people wandering off and things. We were so lucky to find Hugh Padgham at the end, so we could actually put it together, finish it off, and get it out.
Right.
I don't think we'll ever get into that sort of situation again.
Hmm.
I don't know where we got lost. I mean, Air Studios today, and it was at Air Studios that we got totally lost somewhere between the machines and no one quite wanting to make any decisions and that. I really hope next time we're going to do it a great deal quicker.
Right.
And we were doing things like, we basically, as soon as we had any ideas, we were coming and working in a big studio, costing money and making you think we ought to do something and putting the pressure on.
Right.
Whereas we should have just gone away quietly and finished the songs off somewhere where it didn't cost any money, you know, in each other's house or something, then gone into the studio and recorded them, finished off. And I'm sure we'll never do that again. I mean, I think it's worked out all right, but the problems it caused were large. If we didn't have such a nice band of people in the group and to work with, I think we'd have given up.
Yeah, it doesn't sound fragmented at all.
I'm amazed at how well it fits together. I think that's the reason that I think it's better than Dare. The way it flows through, despite the fact that the tracks are completely different. You know, there's 10 tracks and no two have any relation to the others musically.
EON FM Stereo and Hysteria from Human League. More from Phil Oakey in just a moment.
Hi, this is Phil Oakey of the Human League, creating Hysteria on EON FM.
Now, with Hugh Padgham, like, he virtually mixed the whole thing, did he?
He mixed a lot, yes.
Right, because he's an old friend of ours, having worked on all the Split Enz albums here.
Oh yes, he's very fond of Split Enz. He was always telling us, like, every couple of days he'd tell us how great Split Enz were. But I'm an old Split Enz fan from way back. Do you remember their first LP that
Mental Notes.
Manzanera produced?
That was the Mental Notes album?
Yes, that was one of my favourite albums when it came out. I loved that. It was all like Genesis, but I thought it had something a bit extra. Then Dysrhythmia was a very good album as well.
Yeah, that's in the days of their funny haircuts.
Yeah. Well, they were a sensation in Britain in those days. Me and my friends really liked them.
Yeah, and you've got another famous name on the album, that's Renata Blau, one of the engineers.
Yeah.
We're
expecting to see her today, actually. I think she's working in here today.
Oh, yeah.
When everything was sort of falling apart in Air Studios, it was her that kept it together.
Really?
We were sort of, everyone was wondering what was going on, and at the time, Chris Thomas was working on both us and the Pretenders at the same time.
Right.
And we were sort of getting completely lost. And she was bothered enough. She worked with us, you know, and she virtually took over at that point. If it hadn't been for her, there wouldn't be any album.
We saw her on the television the other night at the FA Cup.
Yeah, we did as well. It's really odd because, you know, we were in the studio with her for a couple of months, and then suddenly she's in the papers and things. I mean, we loved it. It was great. We had a picture up. When we finished off, we changed studios and went with Hugh. We had her picture up in the studio because we got it out of the paper, and it was a nice reminder.
The cover shot of the album is quite interesting, the way, like, if you walk into your record bar and you see the words Ian Gew Hysteria looking at you.
Yeah, you're the first person to say that. They didn't notice that in Britain at all. I mean, I don't think, you know, there's some very strange people in Britain I've been noticing lately.
Really?
We thought, you know, that's quite an unusual thing. What we wanted to do was to make people pick the album up. You know, they couldn't just look at it and think what it was and ignore it. They had to actually pick it up and look at it and check it out.
And you turn it over and you've got Huey Lear as well.
Yeah, I think that's the Huey Lear, I think, is the cassette.
Oh, yeah. Right. Now, the inside shot, like I remember when I talked to you about Dare and you said, the name Human League and the one-word title as in Vogue magazine, and that inside shot is very Vogue in the house. Whose house is that?
Well, that's my house, but it doesn't look like that. It's a trick of the photograph. The room is very, very small. I mean, especially to people used to Australian houses, it's just a very small room. But the way the camera's been swung around makes it look like a hall or something. It's just an absolutely normal room that we haven't got around to putting a carpet in yet.
Oh, yeah. And those lights look like headless shoulders with bulbs coming out of them.
I thought they were nice, those lights. Oh, typical.
No. We're just looking from the angle I'm looking at now. It looks like someone's collar with instead of a head you have a light bulb.
Yeah.
You may not have noticed that before. And of course Adrian's watching Norman Wisdom on television, which is pretty typical, huh?
Oh yeah, well we did, while we were doing the session, I've got a collection of Norman Wisdom films on video because he's my favourite.
Right.
So we just put one on so that we'd all be smiling, although some of us aren't smiling. Because the picture took quite a while to do. You'd take a picture of one person, swing around, keep swinging round while they were doing different things.
Right.
And it was quite accidental that we caught Norman on the TV.
Norman Wisdom, Johnny, Joey, D.D., good time.
We hadn't thought of having him in. We were just put him on for something to watch. Hi, this is Phil Oakey of the Human League, creating Hysteria on EON FM.
What made you do this James Brown song? It's Rock Me Again and Again and Again and Again.
Well, it was always a song that I was fond of. It was a big hit in the Sheffield discos when I was going to discos, but it was never a chart hit, and I couldn't understand it. I thought it was like one of the best songs I'd ever heard. It was everything a disco song ought to be. No one bothered going out and buying it. So when we got the opportunity, I thought, let's let people hear that song. You know what? Maybe it'll get re-released. Maybe Polydor will get the original out, and it'll be a hit like it deserves to be.
Well, what are you actually doing in the studios today, Phil?
Well, we're running up some 12-inch mixes of some tracks and maybe some dance floor mixes, just because we tried very hard with the album not to make it a production job. We wanted to do songs that either stood up or fell down, and we deliberately avoided overproducing it. And now that we've done that, we've put it out, we're going to try playing around a bit, having some fun with it. Making some things stand out, taking some things away.
Right, any particular tracks that you'll be doing 12-inch mixes on?
I think all the dance tracks, really.
Yeah.
I'm Coming Back and Rock Me,
Right.
I should imagine. The Sign.
You mean there could be another Love Unlimited Take two. You think there could be another League Unlimited Orchestra coming up?
I think there could be, yes.
Uh-huh.
I don't know if this will be it. We've got one or two little ideas for that at the moment. I think there'll probably be a League Unlimited Orchestra LP at some stage.
Okay, well, thanks very much, Phil.
A pleasure, John. I've no doubt I'll talk to you again soon.
Okay, lovely to chat to you. Bye-bye.
Cheers.
See ya.
Don't you know I want you?
EON FM Stereo and Human League. Don't you know that I want you? Wherever you're riding or driving at the moment. It's just gone 11 o'clock, and thanks very much for sort of joining us on this last hour of conversation with Phil Oakey on the Hysteria album.